In this video, we will demonstrate the centralized policy management functionality in NextLabs Data Access Enforcer, or DAE, for SAP. In this demo, we will show the following functionality. First, we will walk through the steps of how to develop policies in the NextLabs Control Center. Within the NextLabs Control Center, policies are developed with the following structure. First, the policy model is defined. Then, the types of components that can be used. Next, the specific components that will be used in policies, and finally, the policies themselves. All of this is done using a true fourth generation language, or 4GL, policy engine. This allows the policy development process to be repeatable and the policy components to be reusable. The entire development process is user and business friendly, with no coding, even in XML, required for policy development. Second, we will show you how the NextLabs Control Center can be used for policy governance. Using the same attribute-based access control, or ABAC, as in the NextLabs data access policies, the NextLabs Control Center allows for full policy lifecycle management, ensuring proper segregation of duties and the delegation of different privileges to different users or groups of users. There are also full auditing capabilities of the entire policy lifecycle, ensuring there's a record of all policy changes in the system. Here in the NextLabs Control Center, I will show you how you can define the policy model, the different types of policy components, and the data access policies themselves. For the sake of time in this demo, I have predefined the model, components, and policies we will be reviewing. The first area we will look at is the policy model section. Here's where we can define the types of components that can be used in policies. If we take a look at the user subject component, we can see that all of the attributes for this component, as well as the data type of each attribute, and the operators that are available for each of these attributes. All of these attributes can be modified or deleted, and new ones can be added as part of the policy model. If we take a look at the EM SAP DAE resource component type, we can see something similar with all of the attributes that are available for this component type. In addition, there is also an obligations tab where we define the obligations that are available for this resource. In this case, there's both a predicate condition, which governs record level filtering, as well as the data masking obligation, which covers field level data masking. For NextLabs DAE, the field level masking and record level filtering are extremely powerful because they are being applied at the data access layer, so the masked and filtered data never reaches the application layer. This allows organizations to ensure that such data is never exposed to those who are not authorized to access it, even if they are using SAP in developer or power user mode. Now if we move to the components section, we can see how the components used in the policies are defined. First, let's take a look at the Department IT user subject component. Here we can see that this user subject component is defined to be any user where their role includes IT. This user subject component is dynamically evaluated at the time of data access request so that any changes in attributes are immediately reflected. We can see a preview of the users that match this condition by clicking on the preview button, which allows the policy developer to confirm the component definition. Now, if we look at the resource component section, we can see the application servers and the tables that have been defined as resources. You can also see that all of these resource components are of the EM SAP DAE type, which is the resource component type that we defined earlier in the policy model. Within each component, we can see the condition that defines that component. All of these conditions are also evaluated dynamically at the time of data access so that they will always be up to date even if attributes change. Now we'll move on to the policy definition itself. Within the policy definition, we can refer to the components that we previously defined. Here we can see how we are using multiple user components as well as multiple resource components to apply this policy. Here in the obligation section, we have defined both predicate condition as well as data masking obligations. All of these elements of the policy are evaluated dynamically at the time of the data access request. Now we can move on to the policy governance capabilities of Control Center, including lifecycle management, segregation of duties, delegation administration, and auditing. In the administration section, we can first define the delegation policies. Here we have defined delegation policies for policy analysts, security administrators, as well as auditors. The policy analysts are given the authorization to create and edit policies, but not deploy those policies. In contrast, the security administrator is allowed to deploy policies, but cannot edit and create policies. Finally, the auditor delegation policy is able to view policies and component definitions, as well as system logs, but cannot make any changes. If we look within the policy analyst delegation policy, we can see that they are able to create and edit policies, but cannot deploy them. If we go back and view the security administrator delegation policy, here we can see that they are able to deploy policies, but are not allowed to create or edit them. This enforces a clear segregation of duties in policy administration. Finally, if we go to the auditor delegation policy, we can see that they have view privileges on policies, components, policy model, and reports, but are not able to make any changes in those areas. This again enforces a clear segregation of duties throughout the policy development lifecycle and helps enforce internal controls. Now we can log in as each of these types of users to show how segregation of duties is enforced. First, we will log in as the security analyst. Here we can see that they are able to create policies and edit policies, but they are not allowed to deploy policies or undeploy them. Next, we will log in as the security administrator. This user is not able to create or edit policies, but is able to deploy policies and undeploy or deactivate policies. Finally, we will log in as the auditor. As this user, we are able to view all of the policies, but are unable to deploy them or edit them. We can also view everything within the policy model or the components, including the subject components, the resource components, as well as the action components. In addition, we can go and view the system audit logs. Here we can see all of the changes that have been made to the system, including the users that have just logged into the system. This concludes the demonstration of the centralized policy management functionality in the NextLabs Control Center, including both the policy development as well as the policy governance capabilities.